Oh. Nice. Although I think that's too loud. Maybe. I think that's better. Hello, everybody. This is Building with Richard. As you can see, my hands and my keyboard and my face off to the side here. Hello, everybody. I'm running a bit late, which is why this is a bit of a mess. But it kind of is what it is. Got to get my computer screen organized here and get everything going. It's been a while since I've done one of these building videos, so I'm very unorganized at the moment. So bear with me. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I can try to turn things down a little here a little bit. Cheese. How does that sound? Can everybody hear me? The music's getting better. I can turn... It's strange that the music is so loud. On the computer, it's set to 13%, which seems crazy. But really, if you can hear me, that's... I guess that's a step in the right direction. All right, we've set it down to 13% on the music, and I am at, I don't know, whatever the mic is set at. So unless you tell me this isn't going to work, that's what we're going with. I think it's going to work. Almost there. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to put some stuff together, and we can chat about synthesizers. Or anything, I don't care. Good. So I'm going to put together... Today I have... the last of the... Today I have the last of the touch controllers to put together, so in a box here, I don't know how many I have. I think there's maybe 13 or 15 or something that need to go together. They're all in a box that I threw together at work today with the idea of bringing them home and assembling them. So let's see what we have in the box. These are Arduinos. These actually aren't for the touch controller. These are for the micro sequence that I think Perry is building this week. Here's a box of Arduinos for the touch controller. As you can see, it says touch controller right there. This is how we put the burn the Arduinos. Atmel chips. I brought an oscilloscope home. For the next 2 weeks, Pittsburgh Modular will be working from home as much as we can, so we all sort of raided the shop today and grabbed everything we needed to get some work done, so we're going to see how that goes. Some bags of parts. More bags. Good times. See, joining us today is... Oh, I gotta get out of the way. Danielle. Danielle's sitting in the background today. She's a little blurry, but that's okay. Yeah, quarantine will do that to you. This is the part of building that I normally do before I start. I kind of get organized. Here we have, these are the touch panels, and they come in these static bags, anti-static bags. I have some bags of front panels here. Hello, Sean. We're going to enjoy your music again tonight. Thanks for tuning in, Sean. I haven't listened to your new album yet, so maybe tonight is the night. Although I haven't paid for that one yet, so I feel like I should buy it before I stream with it. More stuff. I sort of reorganized the desk to focus on having the modular set up so I could do the live modular streams. So this is sort of, I don't have as much room for building here, but I'm gonna try. Nice, everyone should go check out the WY's, formerly WY's album on Spotify. I definitely can't do Spotify. I'll get dinged for that. But everyone should go check it out. How about Google Play? I subscribe to Google Play because it comes with YouTube Red, and I feel like YouTube Red is as important as streaming music. I'll check it out on Google Play. Nice. What an odd time to have an album come out. I guess people have time to sit at home and listen to it, so that's good. Yeah, I had a bunch of guests planned. Herman was supposed to be here today. Soy Sauce, he was going to join me live in my dining room, and we were going to do some patching and talk about patching and, you know, modular stuff. Talk about how he incorporates modular into what he does and some of his ideas about patching, but I canceled that, and you know, just like everyone's canceling stuff everywhere. So the nice thing is I could stream myself from my dining room, you know, over the next few weeks or however long we're doing this for, as much as I can. Which is good because you guys can keep me entertained while I'm sitting here. I even reached out to a couple local musicians to see if they wanted to come over and do live streams. And things changed so rapidly. Everything sort of all happened at once, it seemed like, that even those I postponed. No, all the Pittsburgh stuff is kind of on hold. It doesn't make, it doesn't make sense to announce anything right now. Nothing, because really nothing's happening right now. So, stuff will get announced when it makes sense. I do know we had the SV1B that's in production and the cascading delay network modules that are in production were being made, or are being made, in Malaysia. The PCBs are being made in Malaysia, and because of that, we just got an email today saying that they've been told they have to shut down the factory for 2 weeks. So the cascading delay network and the SV1B will both be postponed by an additional 2 weeks. So I guess that gives me more time to work on the videos and the web pages and the documentation, which is a good thing. But more news as it happens, I guess. For us, it's sort of a strange place to be because we do have some new, interesting stuff that should be out soonish. But put everything on hold and see where we're at in a couple of weeks. It's a bummer about Super Booth. Just really looking forward to going, not only to see all the new stuff and all the new announcements, but a lot of my friends I only get to see at these synth events, and Super Booth is probably my favorite event to hang out and get to see my friends. So that was sort of a sad thing that had to get canceled this year. Again, you know, there's a reason for all this. But I think I'm vaguely set up. I hope so. Yeah, I'm shutting down Pittsburgh Modular to become a full-time YouTuber. I think it's very clear in the quality of my YouTubing that that is the future for me. I do get a kick out of doing this, and I am going to continue doing it because it's super fun. But no, it's that's not what's happening. I don't think I'm going to tell anybody to smash anything. That's on you. What I have noticed, though, is it seems like as I do this, I have noticed more engagement with our channel, which is cool. You know, people leaving comments and that type of thing, so that's nice. Every now and then someone buys something after a stream. That's nice. I appreciate that. Well, don't forget to subscribe. Jeez. But you only have to remember to subscribe once. So it's not even something you need to remember to do. You just do it and then you don't have to worry about it. It's like off one less thing you got to think about right now. And in the times we live in, really, don't you want one less thing to worry about? So I would just subscribe, and then you've done it, and you can move on to do other things. You know. Which is good. I think that's important. But these are fun because I can answer, you know, if people have questions about modules, it's easy to answer them sort of in a one-on-one, virtually situation. So I think it works out well. And if I could get you with a low-pass gate every now and then, it's a good thing. But it's been a minute since I put one of these together. I don't want to forget any of the steps. First one's going to go together slow. think the quality of the stream has been stepped up in the last couple months. The first time I did this, building with Richard, I just turned my iPad on and kind of faced it down. On what was then the dining room table. Since then, the dining room table's been removed from the dining room. And I'm not using my iPad anymore. I got my vlogger camera suspended above the desk. This is nice because I think it should... This camera has autofocus. Yes. So that's good. My other camera, this camera, right here, doesn't have autofocus. So if I move, I'm just going to get blurry. And in fact, I really didn't even focus this one. So I might be out of focus right now. I don't know. We could focus the camera. It's oh, I am in focus. Nice. That would be a fun way to do it. I would love to do a crackle box. It's such a fun little electronics project because it's easy to do, so you have a good chance of being successful your first time through. And even if you screw it up, there's not that much to troubleshoot, which is nice. So if you make a mistake, you'll be able to fix it. Because there's only a couple components in a crackle box, which is nice. But it's all through hole again, which is nice. So it uses those crazy old op amps. And a video of me and Michael walking people through the build would be great. It may give Michael nightmares though, because Michael teaches the class where he builds crackle boxes, so I'm sure he has seen every conceivable failure for that. Another nice bit about the crackle box is that it really works. Crackle boxes really work best when they have a speaker, so because of the sounds they make, they really need the room around them to make them more interesting. We've talked about somehow incorporating, I probably talked about this last time, I forget. We talked about incorporating an analog delay into it so that you don't really know which aspects of the delay are tied to which of the touchpads. In the same way that you don't really know when you're playing with the crackle box what each touchpad is doing, because it's the combination of them that really creates it, not the individual pads themselves. It's a great little instrument. If you don't know what one is, or if you haven't played with one, certainly worth digging one up somewhere. Super good project. Yes, Daju, a crackle box. It's not a Eurorack module. It's like a little standalone noise instrument, or it's a synthesizer, but it's kind of like a little noise box that by touching different pads on it in different ways, it responds differently. It kind of screams and yells at you. It's good. It's a lot of fun. Don't know if you can get them in DIY kits or not. I know there is a company on the internet that sells crackle boxes, and I'm sure a Google search would find it, but kind of like an Atari Punk console, sort of, but you have a lot more and a lot more range with it, but a lot less control over it. It's one of those instruments that you could pick it up 10 times, and each time you pick it up, it's going to do something different. It's always going to sound and do the Cracklebox thing, but you interact with it, but you certainly don't control it. It's not a 555 or 556. It's its own. It's a very specific op amp that it uses. And it's an op amp that hasn't been in production now in quite a while. But they're relatively easy to come by on eBay. We bought, last year, a couple years ago, we bought about 100 of them, or 200 of them, with the idea of doing this Cracklebox thing, and just never got around to doing it. So I've just realized that I actually didn't bring any knobs home. So I'm not going to be able to put any knobs on the touch controllers. Sounds like something for tomorrow. Estaju, that's Danielle sitting back there. Danielle is the business side of Pittsburgh Modular. She's co-owner. Miss Pittsburgh Modular. Circuitous, absolutely. Anything we can do to help? Although for the next few weeks, we will be doing it from home. It was definitely strange at the shop today, trying to figure out how we could build from home, what we needed to take, sort of getting everybody organized, and then how we could reconvene to ship, because we do shipping on Fridays, how we could sort of reconvene to ship without actually being there together. So sort of staggered hours. Used gear is great. I think it's good. Sure, obviously I'd prefer if you bought new from me, but no, I don't have a problem with used gear. We had, Clay, there is a reason for the different potentiometer styles. That's a keen eye you have there. I could grab another one here. You can see the two different styles on the top and then the bottom, or I guess the other way for you. The top and the bottom, and the reason for that is I wanted the touchpads to be as large as they could be, so that I couldn't fit 2 rows of this is the type of potentiometer we normally use. I couldn't fit 2 rows of that, so we had to switch to this other style pot. But the bottom row, because of the way the touch plate sits, this style pot didn't work on the bottom row, so in true Pittsburgh fashion, we had to make it as complicated as we possibly could by using 2 different styles of potentiometers. But they both feel the same, which is, the most important thing, certainly from a performance standpoint. Derek, you will not be banished. And if you do buy some used stuff and you want to bring it into the shop to have checked out at some point, I'd be happy to look over it. I don't know what you're getting, but, oscillators or something, we can calibrate them up for you. That's not a problem. Not currently, but, in a few months, you want to stop by. That would be good. Thank you, Hayden. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say that. The SV1 is an instrument Michael and I are both extremely proud of. I think it sounds absolutely amazing. And it really doesn't sound like everything else out there, which is something that I really appreciate. The idea that we wanted to develop a little patchable monosynth that was really its own thing. And I think the SV1 does that in your rack format really, really well, while still living in that mini Moog-esque world, that SH101 style, monosynth world. It's a really nice instrument. I'm anxious to get the SV2 or SV1Bs out into the world. Because the SV1's been sold out now for quite a while. And the SV1Bs, we're getting the top PCB in on Friday. They're going to be delivered. But the bottom PCBs have now been delayed 2 weeks. So we're not going to get those for 3 weeks. Which is a bummer. We were supposed to have them. They were supposed to ship next week, and now they're going to ship an additional 2 weeks out after that. Hopefully. But in the meantime, that means that we can be assembling and testing the top PCBs. So we will have something to do and something to work on. Have you guys seen the... We've shown it at a couple trade shows. Have you guys seen the SV1B? It's identical function-wise to the SV1. We're simply changing to sort of this black panel style. We switched to square buttons instead of round buttons. We showed it off at NAMM, but NAMM, most people focused on the cascading delay network module in the coverage, so I don't think the SV1B got a ton of coverage at the show. Oh, nice, Bill. I've been doing a lot of patching here at home on the bigger, well, the 420 case on my desk here. And I have 2 micro sequences in there. And it had been a while since I'd played with them. And I've been digging them. The last couple days, I've used them a ton. Oh, cool. I like the color scheme as well. I have this, I'm going to get the light's going to get all screwed up. This is sitting on the shelf behind me. This is the SV1B, which you can see. Try to not get the glare from the light. It's just like the SV1, except it has square buttons, yellow lights, or yellow LEDs and red LEDs. There's no more blue LEDs on this guy. That's good. Over the years, the SV1 has sort of evolved a little bit internally. We've tweaked a couple things. We've changed a couple things with various circuits here and there. Never enough to make it large changes, but just, sort of refined it over the years. So this incorporates all those sort of updates and changes. So this is the definitive version, as you will. Mine I have sort of a box of, I call prototype knobs, sitting on my desk. Anytime I build a prototype, I use the prototype knob so you can see. Maybe, I don't know if you can see it or not. These knobs are just ugly, ugly, ugly. But they get the job done for prototypes. So this is mine. This is actually the one we took to NAMM and showed off. Yeah, so that's the SV1B. I think we're going to start doing a pre-sale for it relatively soon, and then, like I said, it should ship hopefully a month. And Michael and I are going to do a video about it, and I'm going to do a video series similar to the video series I did with the Microvolt. If you guys saw the video series for the Microvolt, I'm going to do something similar where I go through each section and give it a dedicated video and sort of walk you through it. And that'll be nice for both, you know, the people getting interested in the SV1B, but, you know, everything will work. If you already have an SV1, you could watch the series and everything will apply to that just as much as it applies to the SV1B. So that's fun. I was hoping to wait until there was some flowers, that I could go film some flowers for the B-roll and sort of the background kaleidoscope effects, like I did for the microvolt video, but I think I'm going to have it done before that. So I'm going to have to come up with something that makes the video sort of unique on its own. We are going to start going with the black panels on our modules as well. You can see that we did recently the analog delay unit, which is available now. The really nice dual bucket brigade analog delay is a black panel. It's the same style as the touch control in the Voltage Lab. And then the cascading delay network is going to also, you know, it has a black panel as well. Yeah, the microvolt is criminally underrated. I agree with you. Michael and I spent a good year and a half, 2 years working on that instrument. And I don't think it got the chance that it deserved. I think the problem is we are known as a Eurorack company, and the microvolt's not Eurorack. And it just, we couldn't, you know, with a budget of nothing. And at that time, you know, I wasn't doing the YouTube thing, and I wasn't really trying to market anything. Not that this is really marketing anything, but we just sort of put it out there, and then we moved on because we had this other idea that we wanted to work on, which, you know, became the Voltage Lab. But I think we kind of threw it out there and then walked away, which is a shame because then it didn't get the attention that I think it deserved. I did do the video series then down the road for it, but it kind of, unfortunately, it doesn't have the mind share. We still have a bunch, and it's still available. And I was using one a couple days ago. So much fun. It has such unique sound. It really does live in its own little world. And that to me is what makes these instruments great. You know, whether it be the instruments we make or another company makes. The whole point to this, in my mind, is that each company has a sound and a vibe that they're going for. And that makes, you know, room in the market for all of us, because you can sort of dip in and out and find that thing you're looking for as an artist. The microvolt definitely lives in a strange little world. It's kind of not a traditional monosynth, but at the same time, it's not, you know, something super West Coast like the Voltage Lab. I think it's a fun little instrument. I have one of those sitting right behind me too that you can't see. Yeah, the microvolt really was the beginning of what I like to call organic analog synthesis. You want to know the story? I wish there was a story behind it. I guess I could tell you what happened. I guess that it becomes a story. So Ken, this one's for you. we had a company making our panels. They were the silver panels, and they were difficult to work with. So we had to switch panel vendors, and switching panel vendors, we knew we weren't going to get panels that looked exactly the same, because the company that we were working with before kind of had they have the patents, and they're the only ones that do the metal photo process. So because we were sort of stepping away from that, we had to go to something different, and it was either going to be slightly different, and I think that would have been more of a problem. So we said, no, let's step all the way back and let's do something completely different. If it's going to be different, let's make it really different. From a design standpoint, or from a designer standpoint, the silver Lifeform panels were a little bit problematic in a Eurorack sense, because the whole top of the panel kind of had to be blank. That's just sort of the fault of the design language that I initially created for the Lifeform stuff. So you ended up with a lot of wasted space up here. So with developing this design language, when I was working on the Voltage Lab, I wanted to utilize as much of the panel vertically as possible, because designing this stuff, I find more times than not, I'm fighting for every little millimeter and half millimeter I can get vertically, because the panels are just, your rack is just too short. So this new design language, I wanted to take advantage of as much space vertically as I possibly could. And I went with the black and the white look for printing, because I really liked the way that the microvolt looked, but the microvolt design language didn't translate necessarily to a Eurorack panel, again, because there was only so much room, and because of the different ways we needed a little bit more flexibility with the Eurorack stuff than with the microvolt. So all the panels started out sort of as microvolt-esque panels, and they evolved into the white, then the gray on the black powder coat. And that's the story. It really came down to, we needed to switch vendors, and we didn't want to kind of switch a little bit. Hello, Herman. I miss you too. This would have been so much more fun if you were here and we were making weird sounds on the modular. But we'll do it in a few weeks. We'll get together and do it. Yeah, I think that was an issue with the microvolt, was that it's not the same as an SH-101, or not the same as a Mini Moog or that style monosynth. So people tend to, people want to feel smart, and artists want to make music. They don't want to necessarily feel like they have to read a giant manual to understand something. So unfortunately, that instrument, because it's a little weird and a little strange, and I came at it from a little bit of a different angle, it wasn't as immediate to a lot of people. But for the people that sat down and wanted to spend some time with it and felt like it had something that they could offer them musically, everyone has been really, really happy with it. So that's a good thing. Oh, thanks, Derek. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the square buttons and the muted color scheme. I think it looks good. I think it fits into what the original Pittsburgh look was. The original Pittsburgh look with the Dymo font, label maker font text. I think this new look, it sits nicely next to that, and it has the same ideals, which is sort of, we wanted something that was sort of a little bit maybe punk rock or a little bit 1950s sci-fi lab, and I think this stuff fits right in there. Mateus, will we make something like it in the future? I'm assuming you're talking about the microvolt. I would love to. I think in the right situation, and if we could give it the right amount of love, an instrument like that could do fantastically well. I think people would get it, and it would do really well. So I'm not afraid to try something like that again. Certainly. You want a patch lab with the never went into production modules. So what would that be? Let's say we could do, I don't know which one you were super into when you were at the shop. If you tell me, I will put it in the patch lab, assuming the module works. Some of the stuff you saw was never finished, and so obviously I can't use broken modules or modules that never worked. But we could do like the digital double helix. That's a module that I think we made 5 or 6 of. The fragments generator. I could absolutely do the fragments generator. Did I play the fragments generator for you when you were at the shop? I may have. No, it's fragmenty goodness. That, no. Yotis, that was for the double helix. Which the digital double helix is a great module. It sounds amazing. Yeah, so I could definitely do the fragment generator. That'll be fun. I think. No, I don't have it here, but I do have the digital double helix in the system that's in the shelf behind me. But I could definitely put something together. That would be fun. I've got a couple modules like that we put together for one reason or another just never made it into production. Yeah, the fragment generator is the one with the 3 outputs and the combined output. And before everybody watching starts to go crazy, the reason we didn't put out the fragment generator was it didn't sound good. And as you'll find out when I stream with it, yeah, it's not good. It was a great idea, but it just didn't work. In an analog context, it was impossible. 3 fragments was not nearly enough. It needed 3,000, and it would have been very cool. This, by the way, is the new Sean Holt album on the Bandcamp. Everyone should go check out Sean's stuff on Bandcamp. It's a good time to support artists. Also, Yotis, for those of you who just joined us recently, Yotis has a new album out today or yesterday on Spotify. You can go check that out. Yeah, I know, Thought for Max. People are gonna... That module's gonna haunt me my entire music instrument building career. And that's okay. Maybe if I show it and we talk about it and we sit down together and we work through this, that people realize, oh yeah, no, not good. And we can move on together as a group. I think that's the way to do it. I had this whole idea for April Fool's Day of doing a nice video talking about it and hyping it up and saying it's finally ready and we're finally going to do it. And then at the end of the video, the last 20 seconds or so, I was going to actually play it so people could hear it and just have everyone be like, oh no. Again, it was a great idea, but to do it in the analog domain, just not possible. Pittsburgh Kazoo. That's a good idea. We'll work on that. The year that at NAMM that Roger Lynn killed every piece of gear in our booth. The day before NAMM opened, I was sitting in the booth, nearly in tears, sort of wondering what to do with this booth we had spent so much money on to come and showcase these instruments that were all now ruined, thanks to Roger Lynn. And I thought at one point, I'm like, well, maybe we could just sell drums. Like, here's a chair, you can bang on it. This is our new instrument that we're showing at NAMM. Fortunately, we were able to get everything repaired and actually show what we were going to show that year. Which I think was the year, I'm almost certain, was the year that we showed the SV1 for the first time. So I think the conspiracy against the SV1 started early with Roger Lynn trying to shut us down. Thank you, Alpha Stare. I appreciate that. Yeah, I suspect, Bill, I should put some of that in context. Roger Lynn is a very good man, and I don't think there's a negative, evil bone in his body. But at NAMM, I guess 4 or 5 years ago now, we were set up. We always get there a day early and set up because we like to do some of the media on setup days. So we'll have like Sonic State will come by, and some of the other guys will come by and they'll do a video so we can get it up early and whatnot. So we were there again a day early and we set everything up. Everything's running great. And we had quite a lot of instruments that year. We had a large booth. So Roger Lynn shows up the on setup day to set up. And he got there a little late because he has it's like a bar top table that he sets his instrument up on, and then he has these 2 bright lights and a banner, and that's his entire booth. So it only takes him a minute to set up. So he gets there, about halfway through the day and sets up his stuff, and I went over and said hi to him. He's a nice guy. But as soon as he turned on his 2 lights, everything in our booth went pop and shut off. And obviously we were freaking out because, you know, we couldn't see, first of all, we couldn't see that he had turned on his lights, and that's what caused the problem, because he was on the other side of the curtain. And, you know, we weren't keeping tabs on whether Roger's turning his lights on and off. So it took us a while to pinpoint what the problem was. And eventually we got him to turn them off and turn them on and sort of test the line. And we realized when he was turning on these lights, it was switching our power supply from 110 to 220. And of course, sending 220 through all the power supplies in our gear and, you know, blowing everything up. So what ended up, again, not his fault. The electricians had wired the booths improperly, obviously, but it took them even the electricians came over and they're like, no, that's not possible. Well, obviously it is possible because it's happening right now. So we went through, we had, you know, for these shows, you always take backup stuff. So we had taken some backup power strips and whatnot. And we had then, so the electricians would come over and they'd be like, well, plug the power strip in. This is a fresh one. We plug it in and it would pop. And they go, oh yeah, something's wrong here. Let's figure this out. And it took them all day to figure it out. But unfortunately, so once they did fix the power for us, and we did have 110, even when Roger was turned on, we then had a booth full of gear that didn't work. So we had to go, all of our mixers were blown and all of our power strips were blown. Everything else, our gear was fine, but at that point we didn't really know because all the power strips were blown. So we got all new power strips then, and we sort of sussed out that, okay, our gear was fine, but all of our little Mackie mixers, the power supplies on all of them were shot. So we went up to the Mackie booth and kind of begged them to lend us some gear. And they were nice enough that they dug up 2 or 3 little mixers for us. And so by the end of the day, you know, 4 or 5 hours after we had started setting this up, we did have a fully working booth. But oh my God, an absolute nightmare. Not how you want to start a trade show. Yeah, no, it was just our booth that got screwed up. It was just us. Everyone else around us was totally fine. Roger Lynn's booth was fine. Everything was fine, just us. Crazy. Yeah, it definitely worked out at the end. We debuted the SV1. It's been our largest selling, most popular product ever since. I think at that point when we debuted it, we didn't show it, the black box format didn't exist yet. So we showed it as a Your Rack module, and then we had I think we called it the System 101 and the System 102 or something like that, where it was in a QD96 case with an empty bottom or with the KB1 keyboard controller. And then maybe 6 months later, we showed it and we debuted the black box, which turned out to be way more popular than any other version of it. Which is why when we went to do the voltage lab, we did it in the same exact size as the SV1 because it would fit in the black box, which again was our most popular product. So it only made sense to do something in the same format. Oh, bummer, Patrick. Yeah, that was canceled. Not going to Omaha anymore. They, I got an email about that on Monday, I think. Either Friday or Monday, I found out that was canceled. Certainly, I think by Friday, because I had 3 trips planned, and all of them were canceled within 36 hours of each other. But now I'm here virtually. Yeah, Patrick, that was going to be it was going to be interesting too, because it was going to be, I was going to go through the differences between East Coast and West Coast in the context of how the 2 different schools shaped Eurorack, and the beginnings of how it shaped beginnings of Eurorack, how it shaped current Eurorack, and how I thought it was pushing Eurorack into the future. All while, talking about what the differences are and why they were different characteristics of them that I thought were important and interesting. It was going to be a good talk. It's actually the first talk that I'd given some serious research to and spent some serious time working on. Normally when I give talks, I will spend a couple days beforehand writing down some notes, and if I have any questions come up that I don't know the answer to off the top of my head, I'll do a little bit of research and find it, but I usually don't spend a ton of time on that stuff. But that one I was interested enough that I went through and did the research because I wanted to make sure I got it right. We were talking about doing then a performance afterwards, and there was going to be a hands-on demo time. It was going to be a lot of fun. They had talked about having me out again next semester, but the problem is, the funding is all semester based, so they don't have the funding nailed down for next semester yet. So hopefully I'll get to come out and do it. But that's up to those guys. I told them I'd absolutely do it if they wanted me to. Yeah, I'm amazed how different artists can get the Voltage Research Lab and the Voltage Lab module to sound different. I find myself, certainly, I tend to end up starting at various points that are similar. So my sounds, I find I'm starting to get into a little bit of a rut with it. So because of that, I've tried to mix up how I use it and use it in ways that I don't typically use it, just so it throws me off a little bit and I have to patch it a little bit differently than I normally would. And that's helped me. But a couple days ago, I watched Molten Voltage did a live stream with just the Voltage Lab. And when I saw that he was doing it, I was curious to see what it would sound like. And I kind of had a sense in my mind what it might sound like. And it sounded completely different to me, which I thought was great. Because he was getting sounds out of it that I would never get out of it. Which is cool. Very, very cool. Derek, that's not a bad idea to do a documentary film about the different schools of synthesis. If only I had time to do documentary films. Yeah, I think I'm gonna, Brian, I think I'm gonna reach out to him to see if he wants to come on my little chat show that I do. I think he's an interesting dude. And I think he approaches modular in a really interesting way, in a way that's completely different than me. And most of the people I, sort of in my circle of modular friends. So I would love to talk to him about how he approaches it and how he decides sort of what modules fit into his little world. I think that'd be very interesting. Oh, speaking about the Modular Synthesizer chat show, obviously today with Herman was canceled because of the quarantine going on. But I do have, I think next week I have the Buchla. You notice the Buchla is at the shop. It's not actually at my house, so it's going to be a while. But I do, speaking of Buchla, this is quite a segue here. Next week on Modular Synthesizers Talk with Richard, whatever I've been calling it, I don't know. Eric Fox is going to be my guest. Eric Fox, as you may or may not know, this would be a good time for me to know what his title is, which I don't. Eric Fox is a good friend of mine who is one of the owners and maybe the main guy at Buchla. So, really good guy, really interesting ideas. So he's going to be on the show next week, next Tuesday. So that should be great. He's a nice guy to talk to. So there's your Buchla segue. I told him we could come on. He could come on and we could talk all about Buchla. Which is something he knows a lot about. Sort of where they've been, where they're going. So that'll be a lot of fun. If there's anybody else you want me to talk to, let me know. And if I know them, I will shoot them an email. And if I don't know them, I'll shoot them an email anyway because it'll be fun. I'm kind of more interested in why people do what they do and the decisions they make from a design standpoint and from a sort of broader standpoint than here's how this particular knob works or here's what this particular module does. So I like to bring people on and talk sort of larger picture because I find that stuff interesting. Yeah, I guess if Eric's coming on, I should have a Buchla in the background or sitting on the desk or something. I'll have to bring it home from the workshop. Now that I've forgotten the knobs for the touch controllers, I guess I have to go to the workshop anyway. You know what? I reached out to Mark Verbose, but he didn't answer my email. So there you go. I don't know Andrew Wong, although he did a review of the SV1 that was super YouTubey and fun. Mylar Melodies. I don't know who that is either, but Noir is interesting dude too. I do actually have his email address. Oh, nice. I'm glad you got it. That is good news. I think Noir still does videos, but maybe 1 or 2 a year. I'll just have to spend an afternoon emailing people. I'm definitely interested in why these guys do what they do. Oh, you are... That's the comment of the day. I wish Eurorack was for you instead of through you. I say that almost every day. I feel like... See, DivKit and Loopop, I have their emails, but I feel like they're so busy making videos that they would not want to be bothered to come onto my live stream. Yeah, I know there's I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but I know there's other people that are going to do some online stuff around Superbooth time as well. I think everyone's kind of on the same page with that. Mateus, I would go for it. It's a great instrument. If you haven't watched my videos for it yet, watch the videos. They're a little goofy, but I think they really explain the instrument well. So you'll get a solid idea of what it is, which is a nice way to dive into it. There's some nice explanations on there by Michael Johnson, which is good. A lot of footage of flowers. If you don't know too much about flowers, there's a lot of information about flowers on there as well. Try to sneak in that extra bit of information. Oh, we're drinking iced tea. This is St. Patrick's Day, so on a completely random coincidence, it's Irish breakfast tea. That Danielle was kind enough to make for me a picture of it for me this morning. So Danielle makes a picture of hot tea and put it in this thing in the morning, which, can you see that? This thing. And then it's hot all day. 6 tea bags, 3 Splenda packets, a lot of hot water. What's Danielle working on? She has a dog and a pillow and a phone. She's probably doing crossword puzzles. Oh, nope, she's not doing crossword puzzles. I think she's watching the live stream. Both live and 5 seconds later. Yeah, this thing is great. It's called a drink tank. Can I get it so it's not... Oh, the light is getting me. It's not going to focus on it. Will it? No. Drink tanks. One of our vendors gave it to us as a perk for free. We bought a bunch of bubble wrap. But it works great. It keeps my tea hot all day long. And in the summertime, it keeps my tea cold all day long. You notice that would be impossible. Skulldrazer, you can get this. This is Sean Holt. This album specifically is Requiem on Bandcamp. I'm sure he would appreciate patronage. Speaking of which, if anybody else watching right now has music on Bandcamp, I haven't actually checked my email, but you can send me a link to it, and I will play it, assuming it's electronic music that's not insane, or even if it is insane, that's probably pretty great too. I keep playing Sean's stuff because it feels like it fits the mood of what I'm doing. And I don't get copyright strikes on YouTube, which is helpful. But I did buy Sean's discography on Bandcamp, and I do try to push people to his Bandcamp page, so. Lonnie, actually, I would love to get Michael here and have him play his boxes. I think there's some logistical problems with doing that because his performances rely heavily on the room to be a part of the sound. You can't really take his output directly and plug it into a live stream. It doesn't really sound right when you do that. But if we could get him in a decent sounding room, I would love to have him do that. And I think he might get a kick out of it. I think you would be underwhelmed to hear Michael talk about what each one of his boxes does. They're not. There's nothing really crazy going on. They're all pretty basic things. You know, there's some phase shifters and some mixers and some low pass gates. It's synthesis. He doesn't use oscillators, so he creates sort of larger feedback loops using his stuff. Oh, the Warhol would be really, really good place. I agree. Brian, I like the idea of a modular consultant. I'm sure there's 30 other people in the chat right now that would be happy to be your modular consultant. No, Michael's stuff isn't necessarily low frequency stuff. It's interesting, but I wouldn't call it low frequency. To me, it kind of sounds a lot of times like trees chewing. And I mean that with all the love. No, not Jimi Hendrix type feedback. All the feedback that he does is within his boxes, within the connections of the boxes. There's no air, so to speak. He's not using pickups in that context. How do you calibrate the primary oscillator? Benjamin, you send us an email and we tell you how to do it. It's not hard. If you're just there's a couple wave shapers to calibrate, and then there's the volt per octave. It's not hard, and if you send us an email, we'll tell you how to do it. No big deal. To explain it over a live stream would be difficult, but it's not hard. A torture device. I just make the tools. What you use them for is up to you. Although I could say I've been to a couple Modular shows where I felt like the artists were wielding torture devices. And I know I've performed a few times where I felt like I was torturing the audience. Astrobass, you want to know my favorite electronic artists? Well, I'm old, so I like old electronic artists. I'm a big fan of Future Sound of London and all their various guises and side projects. I'm a fan of Kevin Key and, again, all his various guises and side projects. Notably Download and Doubting Thomas, and obviously bands like Skinny Puppy. I like a lot of old industrial bands. The last couple days I've been listening to a lot of Psychic TV for obvious terrible reasons. Big fan of The Orb. But I love a lot of synth pop too. Bands like Depeche Mode, and I love that stuff. Front 242 is an important band for me. Derek, Kevin has a new module coming out hopefully soon-ish. It's a drum module. It sounds super, super good. Yeah, Derek, I told you I was old. I try to find new stuff to listen to, but it's difficult. I could go through my record collection and find some of the newer stuff, but I'm not allowed to play it. My cadence of my voice is directly related to me trying to not only run a live stream, but to actually attempt to get some, or pretend to get some work done here. So I'm trying to build. And of course, because I have a microphone in front of me, I'm trying not to sound like a total idiot. Which reminds me, now that there's 34 people watching, don't forget to smash that like button and to subscribe. Huh? See? If you subscribe, then you don't have to think about subscribing. It's already done. You can move on with your life. And I know right now, challenging times, there's a lot to think about. So don't think about it. If you subscribe now, you don't have to think about it anymore. You'll get to see all of my hand washing videos that I have planned for the coming weeks. I know I've been using the tagline, analog is important, but I've switched that up to hand washing is important. We're going to go with that for the next couple weeks. So if you saw the video today, it was soap bubbles with lions in it, and the lions eat the virus. I suspect if that's where I'm at day 2 of doing these videos, that they're going to get absolutely ridiculous. So that's worth subscribing just for that reason. And when people subscribe, it makes my list numbers of subscribers go up, and that makes me happy. It feels like this is worth it then. You know. Is that YouTube-y enough? Bring back the metronomes. I only had a couple seconds of footage for the metronomes. I shot that at NAMM, and I shot it, and the person behind the booth was so irritated because of what I was trying to do that I only ended up with a few seconds of that. So I stretched that out as best I could to get that video. So that is 100% of the metronome footage has been used. Where's my Patreon? My Patreon is at pittsburghmodular.com. You can support my YouTube channel by buying modules and cases from Pittsburgh Modular. Oh, Brian, you like the visuals? Those are super fun to do. The sort of analog video distortion boxes I have. It's a pain in the butt to set that stuff up, so I'm not going to do it very often. But when I do, I'll probably do it a couple days in a row, because once I have the stuff set up, I feel like I got to get my use out of them. But I will do this every now and then, because they're super fun. Although the guys at the shop prefer that I show the system, because they want people looking at the modules. But I get a kick out of doing the visual stuff, so I'm definitely going to do that. I don't know. See, I don't know how good a PR the hand washing videos are, but I feel like I'm doing public service announcements. So I tried to strip as much branding out of them as I could, and really just make them as... If I can be goofy enough to make people get up and wash their hands, I feel like I've accomplished something. Why will this not go on? Do I have a video mixer, or is that the output from one? I do have a video mixer. It's the Edirol V4, I think it's called. It's a little analog mixer with some, it's probably digital, analog input mixer with some really terrible, fantastically terrible digital effects built into it. And then so that's what everything runs through, and then I just run it through A to D video converter. Which is why I can't use two cameras when I do that, because the USB or the HDMI to USB connector is used for that. That didn't make any sense. That's fine. I'm sure you have some sense of what I'm talking about. Stir crazy shining videos. Oh, they're coming. Oh, they're coming. That's why I do the live streams. It's like being out with people, except I'm at home. I don't know if Sean is still in the watching or not, but I think that album, Requiem, is my favorite. It's such a good album. we have anything that messes with video? No. No, we don't. All of our stuff is audio related. Is video something we would try? Probably not. I like playing with the video stuff sort of as a hobby, and I think some things you just need to keep as a hobby. Is it that much different than audio? I don't think so. I've had a couple conversations with Michael Johnson about it in the past, but I'm happy playing with this sort of couple little toys that I have. Yeah, video synthesis can get very expensive. I'm not a purist with it. A lot of the stuff I do is I take digital sources and then just run them through a couple little analog boxes. Like I'll play a video on my iPad, or a little visuals program on the iPad, and run it through a couple analog boxes. I also have the Atari Video Music. That is, I guess that's digital too, but it has such an analog feel to it. But I bought that years and years ago. Yeah, I saw that. I definitely picked up the Minimoog app. I didn't pick up the Chaosilator, though. I'll have to go grab it. Mateus, he's not wrong. I saw that episode of Tech Mode, and it can be a migraine machine. But I find it's super fun. I really like to use it. It can get a bit monotonous, but I like to use it as sort of source material to process and run through the Edirol mixer. I have a few, 3 circuit bent video processors that you sort of put anything in and you get sort of visual collages out of. So the Atari Video Music's great because it reacts to whatever the music is or whatever the sound that goes into it is. So it allows my circuit bent boxes to have some feedback from the music, which is nice. Is there a synth that I absolutely hated the UI/programming on? Yeah, probably. I'm a pretty specific, cranky guy when it comes to that stuff. Am I gonna tell you what it is in public? No, not at all. There's a ton of stuff out there. Anything with a menu system that you have to dive into 3 or 4 levels deep to solve a problem, I've kind of lost interest in. I'm not against digital synths, and I have a couple that I really enjoy. But they have to. I like synthesizers that are sort of one knob per function, or really close to one knob per function. So the further you get away from that, the less interested I'm going to be in it. Alright, I'm going to build 2 more, and then I'm going to have a beer. Maybe I'll just build 1 more and have a beer. We'll see how it goes. It is St. Patrick's Day after all. I did buy a 4-pack of Guinness a few days ago. So I will have a Guinness and celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Danielle made bangers and mash for dinner. So although it's been a sort of an odd St. Patrick's Day, food and beverage wise, I think we nailed it. But I think I fell behind in the comments. Derek, I'm interested in... There's a video synth on GitHub? I'll have to go back and find it. Is it for the Raspberry Pi? Is that what you said? I'll have to dig in. All right, now I got an email, so I switched the music. This is Glissant. I think that's how it's pronounced. William, is this you? Or just a recommendation? Oh, and thank you for sending me that link. The GitHub link. I appreciate that. I'm absolutely going to play with that thing. Oh, nice. So now we have Glissant from Bandcamp. This is William. Go check it out. It sounds really good. This is very pleasant as well. Thank you for sending the link. I appreciate it. Oh, Simon. A 270 is a fine choice. You'll never have to worry about power. It's always going to work. And that's a good size to start with, too, because it's not an overwhelmingly large case. It's a good choice. Fill it slowly. Take your time. Learn the modules when you buy them. That's the biggest mistake people make when they get into Eurorack, is that they buy a case and then immediately fill it with a bunch of modules they don't understand, and it becomes so intimidating that they don't want to use it. And that's a sad thing. So if you buy slow, just learn how to use this stuff one thing at a time. You'll definitely enjoy it. I can see you being intimidated by the VRL. It's a dense machine. Go through the manual. Take your time. Don't be afraid of the manual. I spent a good 2 months working on that thing and tried to make it as clear as possible. So walk through it. Do the patch examples. Take it slow. That's a great instrument. And it sounds really good. There's a ton of options and a ton of creativity there. But I could see how it could be intimidating. You know, like anything else, you can't figure out a violin in one day. Brian, I wouldn't be too worried about buying something crazy. Doesn't make sense. Again, if you start small, I always recommend, you know, being the Pittsburgh Modular guy, I recommend people start new in Modular, start with an SV1. And the reason I always recommend an SV1 is that it gives you a full synth voice, and also there's a manual to go with it, so you can sort of learn how each one of the sections of the module work. And the nice thing is, once you understand it and you're comfortable with it, it can remain in your system because it is fully modular. You know, you can use just the filter, you can use just the envelope, just the oscillators, that it really, you can then, it becomes the center of a system that you can expand on. And once you understand and you're comfortable with something like an SV1, you'll know what you want to get next. You'll be saying, okay, now I want to get a second envelope, or now I want maybe a function generator, or maybe I want something a little bit more experimental, so I want this, or I want an effect, I want to go to a delay. But the SV1 is a good hub. So even if, you know, the SV1 maybe isn't exactly what you're looking for, take a look at the manual for it and take a look at the different features and functions that it offers, because that is a complete instrument and a complete synth voice. So you can look at that and break it apart and say, okay, well, if I'm going to start somewhere, I'm going to need an oscillator, I'm going to need a VCA, I'm going to need a filter, I'm going to need an ADSR, something along those lines. That's a good way to start researching this stuff. Oh, Yotis, you didn't get that check? I thought I sent that out. No? Probably not. We'll have to follow up with Danielle on that one. Brian, I would recommend jumping into a VRL if you could find one. We don't have any more. I don't think dealers really have too many VRLs to start, but the Voltage Lab module itself, we do have a few of those left, and it would go great in a 270 as the center of a system in a 270 case. That's something we could absolutely do. There is, again, a nice manual for the VRL as well, or for the Voltage Lab as well. I spent a ton of time on that Voltage Lab manual, trying to make what is a dense, complicated instrument as simple to understand as possible. Because ultimately, you know, artists need to have tools. They need to know how to use the tools that they have. So I'm not a big fan of kind of obfuscating feature sets and hiding functionality behind weird names, because I want people to understand the stuff so they can get the most out of it. Having a module that has a bunch of weird names on that you never understand how it works or what it's actually doing isn't helping you. I don't think it's helping the artist at all. Is there a feature that ultimately got cut from the Voltage Research Lab that I was sad about? No. There were a lot of features that got cut ultimately, but The features that were cut were all cut because they didn't make sense within the voltage lab. They made sense, you know, we cut some stuff from the oscillator section, we cut some stuff from various sections, but we cut them because they didn't make sense within the context of the instrument itself. They made sense in a larger Eurorack setup, but I was trying to design an instrument that worked as an instrument on its own. That happened, you know, that was obviously Eurorack based, but I didn't want someone to need to have to add stuff to it. So there was some features that were taken out for that reason, but no, there isn't anything that I'm sad that it doesn't have, because I think it's really true to itself, and that was one of the main design goals. And all the you know, feature here and there that we took out because it didn't make sense, you know, they'll be in the standalone larger format modules. So, you know, we didn't, ultimately nothing will ever get lost. Mateus, we did a reverb unit in the past. I don't think we're going to do another one, but the cascading delay network does some really interesting reverb-esque sounds. All right, this is going to be the last one. Oh, Mateus, that sounds amazing. I bet that was great. Yeah, I would love to hear it. I'm not a fan of menu diving, and that's just me. I'm not against it, because I know you can put a lot of features in that way, and a lot of people work the way a lot of people work. It's totally fine for them, but for the way I work and for what I'm interested in as an artist, when I'm using this stuff, it doesn't interest me at all. Mateus, if you sent a link, I either it didn't come through or what, I'm not sure. I'm guessing that's what happened. I didn't see it. I usually get to approve some comments, but I didn't see anything from you. I think everybody needs a cave studio. That's a given. What about the Pittsburgh Modular dog barking module? That's a good one. Oh no, we've created a dog feedback loop. The dog barks at other dogs, and now the dog can hear himself on the live stream 5 seconds after he barks, so he thinks it's another dog. This is going to go on forever. Wow, I'll have to check that out. I have not seen the cat meow module. Simon, are you in the live chat? Tays, I'm a big fan of Psych Rock. If you have links for that, send me an email. I'd love to hear it. William, is this sequenced, or how are you creating these patterns? If you don't mind sharing your secrets. Can I tell you about any future Pittsburgh modules without deleting the stream later? No, I can't. You were at the shop, you saw them all. Right? SV1B and Cascading Delay Network. The future of Pittsburgh Modular. Still working on an oscillator. Oh, thank you. That makes sense. We're still working on an oscillator. It's changed a couple times for various reasons. The final time changed. I'm real happy with it now, but there's too many features to build into it. So trying to figure out how to make it without making it physically larger to fit all the features. I thought that with the voltage lab we reached peak density feature-wise, but with this oscillator I'm working on, I have far exceeded peak density. But we will see. It's frustrating once you draw something up and you're really, really happy with it, and then you start to lay out the schematic, you start to lay out the PCB, and it doesn't fit. That gets really frustrating. And that was almost the case with the voltage lab. And that's definitely the case with the new oscillator. So I'm struggling between removing a few features to make it fit or to expand the physical size of the module to keep the features. Any industrial bands that I haven't seen live? You know what? I've never seen Front 242 live. There's a bunch. Actually, there's a ton of industrial bands that I haven't seen live that I would love to see. You know, growing up and living in Pittsburgh, we don't have the largest selection of concerts to go to. Most bands, they'll play sort of one Midwestern town, whether it be Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Columbus. So I don't know Front 242. I don't know what their touring history has been. But I'd love to see them. I don't know if they're still performing yet or not. I don't know. I don't know if Pittsburgh ever had a great underground scene. There was a ton of bands. You know, the bands I was in, and then our sort of circle and all the other local bands, but I don't know how great of a scene it was. It's just a bunch of kids trying to have some fun. It's probably the same as it is now. Alright, I have no idea how many I've built. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Built 8 or 9, which I feel like is a victory. I didn't put any knobs on them because I forgot them at the shop. So, but they're almost done, and that should count, right? I think it does. I think that counts. All right, so I'm gonna get a beer, hang out for a little bit longer, and then turn it off. But I'll have a beer first, celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
find more music.
I got another one. I got another one. Oh no. All right. This is. I'm going with you. If that's not what it is, then I apologize. But that's what I'm going with. It sounds good. He said he's currently watching the live stream. I don't know if he's... Oh, there he is right there. Is it Jodif? Yodif? I apologize if I'm butchering your name, but go with Jodif. This is his music. You check it out on Bandcamp. So far, I dig it. Interesting. Bill, answer to your component question. Sometimes when doing DIY, you notice the pots feel greasy / tacky and crackle when rotating. Why is that? Poor quality? It's not necessarily poor quality. It just means they're a little dirty. They're not a sealed pot, so dirt can get up in there and get between the contact and the potentiometer. And the best way to solve that is just to turn it for a while, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until it should clean up. Not necessarily poor quality, as long as they feel okay. You know, if they feel like they're nice and smooth, that's what you want. And yeah, back and forth, back and forth. It's the key. Yeah, the UI on Bandcamp is a nightmare, is it not? Oh, not fun at all. So I have my Guinness. I will toast everybody for watching. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thanks for watching. Hang out for a little bit. think I'm going to try to flip the camera so it's not necessarily facing my desk here. Let's see what I can do. Here's me. There we go. They can see me, so that's good. Yeah, those are definitely Atari games in the background. The Atari's on the other shelf. Super fun. I bought all those when I was designing the game system module. So I wanted sort of super lo-fi inspiration. But I ended up just keeping them because they're fun. Oh. Here we go. This is good. This is good internet. There we are. Yeah, that... Oh, where'd it go? This 6U is... This is the system I put together for when Steve Reitnauer was on the talk show. It's mostly live wire stuff. I didn't have 2 full rows of live wire, so I filled it in with some old school Pittsburgh Modular to sort of round out the system and make a lot more sense. We actually, Derek, we have game systems in stock. If you want a game system, I think you can just order them from our website. I don't actually have an easel boat. I have the touch keyboard and a power supply, but I don't have a boat for it. I've been slowly, or for a long time, thinking I need to put one together because I have it. It's just sitting around, but I've never got around to doing it. Yeah, the game system's a great module. Pittsburgh Modular's been a thing. We've been getting paychecks for about 8 years, and I've been doing it for about 10 now. It's a long time. But we typically go by when the paycheck started as the actual beginning of the company. So it's been about 8 years. It all started, it's nice that Herman's in the chat right now. Pittsburgh Modular, actually, and I was going to tell this story today when he was live streaming with me. Sadly, he's just in the live chat and at home instead of here. But Pittsburgh Modular started one night. For a while, Herman and I were doing DIY nights where Herman would come hang out in my basement. I lived in a different house at that point in time, but we would hang out in the basement and do DIY kits. We'd do like Cat Girl synth kits and Music from Outer Space kits. And just hang out and talk about modular synths and synths in general and music. It was great. It was a lot of fun. And one evening I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to start a Eurorack company. And that was the beginning, with me and Herman sitting in my basement. Good times. Two aquariums. One of them is just... There's not actually any fish in it. It has a bunch of cherry shrimp. And a bunch of snails. And a bunch of other random non-fish things that I'm not sure what they are or how they got there. And the other tank is, it's a community tank. It's just a 20-gallon tank, so it has a bunch of really small fish. Good night, HR. Thanks for hanging out. Oh, the Vilfo stuff. That was the first module, the Vilfo. It's an interesting module. Yes, Herman, you did say that was a terrible idea. It's true. It all worked out okay in the end. See, I don't think Herman's wrong. He's just playing the long game on that one. John, that makes me smile. I appreciate that. Make sure you read the manual. Read it twice. It's good. It's a good manual. I worked 2 months on it. Feel like spend some time, get to know it, enjoy the manual. I have I kind of keep emails in my inbox until I get to them. So I have a collection of emails at the bottom of my inbox now with corrections and spelling errors and various things for the manual that one of these days I'll sit down and get to and actually update the manual and make it solve all the problems. But until then, it's for the most part right, and that's good enough. What circuit design has been the hardest to develop? Well, for me, they're all pretty easy, because I just come up with the ideas and then I send it to Michael Johnson, and Michael Johnson has to figure out how to do it. But I would, we're working on something right now that's seems to have taken 4 times longer than we thought it would. But let's say that probably the dynamic impulse filter, the dynamic VCA was really hard. Emulating a Vactrol with analog circuitry in a way that sounds just like a Vactrol and gives you the exact same response as a Vactrol, but the added bonus of being able to tweak and ultimately voltage control the sort of Vactralness of it was a really hard problem to solve. And something that I know I'm proud of, but I know Michael Johnson, our engineer, is extremely proud of solving that problem. Did somebody buy a game system? You guys are good. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for buying a game system. You know what that means? That means Perry has to put one together, which is funny. We would try to get that shipped out Friday. Situation's a little crazy, but I think we might be able to do it. Did we design patent that? Derek, sadly no, because we're a teeny tiny company that can't afford to patent things. Well, thank you, Otis. I appreciate that. It's strange formally calling you WI and now calling you Otis, but I haven't had time to start any sort of binging yet, but I suspect it'll happen. I'm trying to spend my time creatively. I know I had a conversation with Danielle about this today, how it's tough to be creative when you're not particularly feeling inspired, or the situation around you is sort of the opposite of inspiring. So I'm trying to dive into these wash your hands videos and as a way to remind people to wash their hands, which I did, by the way, when I went up and got a beer. But also, you know, to make people smile a little bit. So they're going to be goofy and they're going to be insane, but hopefully, you know, when you're done watching it, you wash your hands. And that'll be what I do for the next couple weeks. But it's tough, you know, because I was sitting the last couple nights, I've sat down here with the Modular on and I've been patching away thinking, okay, if I could get the start of something interesting, maybe I'll do a live stream and then I can record something, but it just didn't sound good to me at the time. So last night I did some recording of what I had, because I didn't want to just rip it all up without recording anything, and that's ended up what I used for the video today. I thought it sounded better than I thought it sounded last night, but it's been a little bit frustrating. So I'm going to try to do that every day. Just sit down in front of the Modular and try to make something that I find sonically interesting, and force myself to live stream and force myself to talk about it. And hopefully that way I can work through it and ultimately do something really creative in the end. See you, Circuitous Vibes. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you tuning in, hanging out with us. Yoda, that seems to be the smart choice. I'm not a marketing genius, but having one name for everything, which is why I make all these videos and I do everything under Pittsburgh Modular, because that's kind of who I am. Even though a lot of this stuff I'm not really trying to sell anything, but ultimately that's how people know me, so I'm kind of in the same boat, maybe. What do I record into? I record into a PreSonus Studio 1824C, and the reason I have the 1824C is it's 8 in and 8 out, and it'll pump out CV. So if I'm using Ableton Live, I can use all those little CV ins and outs to control the modular. Although, to be honest, I think I did that twice. Just for the novelty of being able to do it, and I haven't done it since. Thanks for tuning in, Polly. Enjoy your jam. I like the formerly WY because it reminds me of the whole Prince thing, and that cracks me up. Although, because I've met you now in person, you in no way remind me of Prince. But the WY, formerly WY thing does, which makes me smile. Have they ever come up with an amazing idea only to find out that someone has already done it? I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't come up with that many great ideas. Everything that we do is, just like everything else, it's an evolution of something someone else has done. I like to think that we're sort of working in an area where there's not a ton of other people working, so it's hard to really step on other people's toes. We're trying to be interesting and unique on our own, but inevitably, yeah, sure, we've done stuff where other people have crossed paths before, and that's okay, because ultimately our stuff is going to sound like our stuff and their stuff's going to sound like their stuff, so I don't think it's that big of an issue. Do I have a preferred patch cable maker? Bill, yes, we make our own patch cables. So I think Pittsburgh Modular is the best patch cable maker. We call them noodles. They, we call them noodles. They look, and the camera's never going to focus on this. They look like this. They're teeny tiny, which is nice because you can fit them in and you can get in for all those tight jacks. And they're kind of floppy, which is great. Noodles. How do they taste? I don't know. Probably like sadness and tears. But we don't actually make them. Come on. We buy them from a factory that makes them. But they are imprinted with our overmolding logo, so they are ours. Yeah, we do. Danielle, you're right. We do test them and package them. And by we, Danielle means she tests and packages them. Danielle will sit at the cable testing machine and test every cable that comes through the building and then package and seal them up. So that is all Danielle. She does all that work. And she does a damn fine job. I think that's something we do that a lot of companies don't do. A lot of these modular companies, you buy these bulk cables and you just throw them in bags and sell them. We literally test every single cable. So if you buy a cable from us, it's going to work because Danielle's tested it on the cable testing clown machine. All right, guys, I think I'm going to shut the stream down. Again, I appreciate everyone hanging out with me. It makes, it's going to make the next couple weeks bearable. I'm going to try to do this as much as possible because I absolutely enjoy hanging out with you guys and talking. Next one will probably be patching. While I'm patching, if you guys want me to talk into the mic, I can do that. If not, that's fine too. Or if you guys have some other ideas for some streaming, let me know. We could do that. The next stream will probably, honestly, the next stream will probably be tomorrow night. I'll try to put up I'll try to do the YouTube announcement a couple hours before it goes up, but it'll probably be tomorrow night. If you guys have any ideas for what we want to talk about or what we should do in these things, let me know. Otherwise, subscribe. Because if you subscribe, then you don't have to worry about subscribing. You've already done it. And you'll be alerted when I go live if you hit that bell, which I've heard is important to say at the end of these things. So, thanks to the guys that bought stuff tonight. I really appreciate that. I also appreciate everyone hanging out. It makes these evenings super fun, watching me build stuff. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Oh, and thanks to a couple other people sent me links to music, which I didn't get to today, but I will absolutely play the next time I have a build, which will probably be in a couple days. So I will get to the music, and I keep sending it in because it'll absolutely get played, and I'll give you credit, and hopefully people buy your music. That's the point of all this. So thank you guys. I will talk to you soon. See you guys.